Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode. Today, I've got my glasses on because I'm ready for a real serious conversation about something that I am just wildly passionate about, something that I feel like this country really needs to take a real hard look at and start to change the way we think about this, change the way we see this, change the way we react to this. What am I talking about? Today, I want to talk about maternity leave, or more accurately, the lack of it here in the United States of America. Welcome back to another episode of What a Fuster Cluck. I'm your host, Lolita Keys. In America, we're one of the wealthiest countries that doesn't offer guaranteed paid maternity leave. That's right. While other countries, ranging from Bulgaria to Norway, offer months or even a full year of paid leave so that mothers can heal and bond with their babies, here in the U.S., there is no federal guarantee. Not 1 week, not $1. And this is according to Forbes. Instead, some mothers are forced back to work after only a few weeks, unpaid, exhausted, and financially strapped. Because quite frankly, modern American culture would rather call someone dedicated for returning to work early than to call them compassionate for someone who decides to stay home to raise their child. That is not a society that values human life. That's a system that prioritizes productivity over people. So again, we're going to compare what actual supportive countries do for families, why we fall so short, and why the idea that childcare is a luxury rather than a human right needs to be challenged literally at every level. One of my earlier episodes, Purpose, Passion, and Career, I talk about how this is so much different for moms who are doing that career that they truly love, that really fuels them, that is their purpose, is their passion, along with raising their new babies. And so for these lucky, blessed, fortunate mothers, even them, they too could really benefit from a more robust maternity leave program in this country. Now, full disclosure, some states, New Jersey in particular, do offer amazing benefits to parents, to mothers having their babies for the first time. And there are a slew of companies in America that also offer a pretty amazing maternity leave package. Some even offer a paternity leave package. I believe Microsoft is one of those companies, so I do want to give credit where credit is due. But overall, women, families who want to have babies in this country, and one of the reasons why so many of us are opting not to have any babies, or maybe not to have as many babies, it's cost of living, right? And it's also the fact that we are living in this, honestly, this gross consumer society that I myself am a part of, right? We all want to keep up with the Joneses. We all want to have the things we want, the things we see other people having. We're like the world's biggest gluttons when it comes to purchasing shit we don't need, right? So I know a lot of this could be curbed just by better spending habits. But I really also want to focus on what our country can do compared to what other countries are doing, what companies can do to attract really amazing, smart, intelligent, capable, hardworking mothers to their organizations if they would only offer these better maternity leave packages, which we desperately, desperately need because there is nothing more important than having babies to keep society going and raising those babies well, connecting with your children, being with your children, and just not feeling the heat and the burden of having to rush back to work after merely 6 weeks, which is a standard, y'all. 6 weeks. Can you imagine 6 weeks? You go through 9 to 10 months of building this baby in your body. And then 6 weeks later, it's like, all right, back to work. Ta-ta. Let's get to it. I mean, honestly, to me, this is just one of the worst, just most disgusting things about our capitalist and consumerist society. And as much as I say that I'm a proponent of capitalism, I also understand its shortcomings, and this happens to be one of them. Let's dig into what the US law actually provides. So, the FMLA Act, which many of you may be familiar with, the Family and Medical Leave Act, only guarantees unpaid leave up to about 12 weeks and only for some workers. Many workers actually don't even qualify. This is according to the Pew Research Center. There is also no federal mandate for paid maternity leave in the US, which is a distinction almost unheard of in most other wealthy nations around the globe, according to Forbes. Literally, millions of mothers are left with no financial support, no time to heal, no time to bond. And the implicit message that their labor outside the womb is valued more than the labor inside of it. I can't think of anything worse than this particular statement. And it's so true. I think if we really sit back and think about it, we know this is so true. Getting back to work is looked at like, yeah, like you're getting back in the saddle and your baby's going to be fine. Just like figure it out in daycare. It's all good, which this is so not the case. We should be rewarding these mothers who are having these babies because without these mothers, without these babies, hello, society will cease to exist. And so, what can we do about that? Well, I don't know. I'm hoping as we go through this episode, maybe I'll get some ideas and just kind of spat them out. But at the end of the day, I think what it could start with is that we get back to honoring our mothers. Of all the shit that our government dumps ridiculous and obscene amounts of money into and triggers inflation by just constantly printing and printing and printing money. And we have all of these three-letter agencies. I highly encourage you all to read Vivek Ramaswamy's book. Oh my God, the name is escaping me. I have to look it up. Hang on. I'm going to look it up. Okay, I found it. It's called Truths. It's called The Future of America First. And in this book, he talks about all of these three-letter agencies that we have, which number in the hundreds, which our forefathers and our founders never intended for us to have all of these ridiculously bloated three-letter agencies. The SEC, the CIA, the FBI, I could go on and on and on. And while many of them probably initially stood to serve an honorable purpose, the reality is corruption just runs deep in all of them. And I don't want to make this my conspiracy theory podcast, but quite frankly, the amount of money, even that we provide in foreign aid, is honestly disgusting when we think about the reality that so many people in our own country are suffering, and that money could very easily be reallocated to the mothers, the working mothers who keep our economy going. So think about that. Let's talk about the world comparison, what other countries are doing better than we are. So countries with long paid maternity leaves, I'll give you a few of those. Some of them are going to sound like a little archaic to you, but let's start off with the first one, Bulgaria. Bulgaria offers about 58 weeks of paid maternity leave at 90% of someone's pay. This is according to Oyster HR. Estonia, like I never saw this one coming, you guys. Estonia offers 20 weeks fully paid with parental leave options extending beyond, totaling over a year and a half. This is according to Axio. In the UK, they offer 39 weeks of paid leave, according to Instant Offices. And according to Howdy, there's a fun one, Howdy, Norway offers 49 weeks at full pay. Most advanced economies average about 17 weeks of paid maternity leave with job protection and wage replacement. Thank you to Bipartisan Policy Center for providing me with that statistic. And over 120 nations provide some amount of paid maternity leave, according to the International Labor Organization. Let's go back to the point about most advanced economies. This is, your UK, your EU, your US, probably China, Australia. Well, let me not throw China in there. I need to fact check that. But just think of advanced economies across the world who are offering 17 weeks of paid maternity leave, which pales in comparison, which I should say ours pales in comparison at only 12 weeks. And again, that is unpaid. FMLA is unpaid. paid. It just means that if you're a particular type of worker, your company cannot fire you for up to 12 weeks simply because you've decided to go off and have a baby. But they do not guarantee paying you. This is all dictated by the company or perhaps the state that you live in. So, a hard comparison line. In America, there's no guaranteed paid leave. Like, as I've said, in many European countries, mothers can take months, even a year of paid bonding time before worrying about rent, health insurance, or childcare. There is nothing more beautiful than those first months to year of your child's life. And of course, you could argue beyond that. Of course, every year comes with its own blessings and bonding experiences. It's honestly all just amazing. But, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's all rainbows and butterflies. Of course, parenthood comes with its own challenges. But in that first year, I remember distinctly with my second son, he wouldn't take a bottle. He just refused to take a bottle, which I ended up actually loving because it meant I have to pump less. But I remember because of that, I kept him home with me, and I had to get, as I said on my Purpose, Passion, Career episode, I had to get a nanny or like someone who would come to the house and help me take care of him. And although that wasn't in the budget, I did whatever I needed to make that happen. And it was amazing. It was amazing having him home with me for that first year. I absolutely loved it. Now let's get into the cultural and economic problem. All right, where can I begin here? This one is going to take me a minute to formulate my thoughts on. Okay, in America, the cultural mythology goes something like this. This will sound very familiar to all of you. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Get back to work. No excuses. And this ideology has become actual policy. The mindset is we value output over family health. We prioritize employer convenience over infant and maternal well-being. Let that one sink in. We prioritize employer convenience over infant and maternal well-being. How many women out there have had a sick child at home? And it's almost like for a brief second, it's like you're actually frustrated with the kid for being sick because now you have to miss work, and that's an inconvenience for many reasons. It's an inconvenience because you might fall behind. And it's an inconvenience because you might not get paid. And again, this is because employers prioritize convenience over the infant and maternal well-being. And it also almost punishes people for actually giving life. It almost punishes mothers for actually deciding to have a baby and making you have to put all of the things in your life into this completely different perspective and live to the point where you are facing utter exhaustion to meet the needs of employers in the US. And why this is capitalism's blind spot, as I've said, I understand that capitalism really is the way to go if you want to live in a free and fair society, but this is like a huge problem with the capitalist mindset, and it's a big blind spot, and it's a great opportunity for us to grow and improve, because in a pure growth driven economy, a baby isn't seen as an economic production. Mothers aren't seen as critical investments. Raising children becomes dangerous and financially vulnerable, which is why so many people aren't having as many kids as they used to. When I meet friends who have more than 2 kids, I am so in awe and wonder and appreciation for them. Number one, I just feel like what a blessing to have just multiple kids. I really wish I could have had more kids. I really, truly do. At least a third. But it's like society just made me feel like I couldn't because I was a working mother, and I couldn't possibly imagine putting myself through my experience a third time of going through pregnancy while also caring for young children, only to have that baby, only to get a few weeks or months off of work. And then you have to just like jump right back into that rat race and figure out who else is going to help you raise your kid. And let's face it, it's not like we're in, I'm thinking of like European societies, like Greeks, Italians, right? Where the grandparents come and live with you. And like, what a beautiful thing. I feel like in American culture, it's kind of like, ew, gross. Like, I don't want my parents to live with me. That's what assisted living is for. Or a lot of parents feel as though they're a burden. And like nothing could be further from the truth. I'm so I'm just so in love and enamored with family. I'm so lucky and blessed that I got to grow up in a big family. Yes, my life as a kid was chaotic, but we had a great big old family. I absolutely loved and adored every moment that we could spend together with our family. It's some of the best memories of my entire life, being with my mom's big family, my dad's big family, the laughter, the food, just the good times, hanging with your cousins. I mean, it's really, truly some of my best memories. And now it's like parents, grandparents, I should say, just they don't want to be a burden. They feel like, oh God, I don't want to have to like move in with you. But I know so many friends or family that have a parent living with them or have a family member living with them. And it becomes this huge help. It becomes this huge help because, as they say, you guys, and there is nothing more true, it takes a village. And it really, truly does take a village to raise kids in today's day and age and to look out for one another. And when we're so busy on this hamster wheel in this rat race of American life, it's like we're completely forgetting about the importance of family. I just feel so lucky that we have a great group of friends and family that we can rely on if we need them. But I know that even in my family, we could be better. We could be better, but we're all so busy. The kids have sports. We're working full time. There's birthday parties. Like, I don't even know. I can't wait to drop an episode about my feelings on kids' birthday parties. But anyway, I'm going to go off on a rant one day, you guys. I'm just going to drop an episode that's all about the things I am just too old and too like tired to just give a shit about anymore. But anyway, yeah. So family is important. Family matters. In my opinion, it's again some of the best memories of my life. In so many other countries, family lives together, they work together, they participate in things together, they help one another, they're there for each other. And in America, it's kind of gross because we've completely just gotten away from that. And it's a shame. And it's to the detriment of our children. And so many traditions are broken and no longer carried on because of this freaking rat race that we're all clinging onto and desperately living so that we can have 85 flat screen TVs and 45 cars and all the best everything and brand new this and brand new that and put it on credit. I'll pay for it later. And it's crumbling our society. Okay, enough about that. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Even if paid maternity leave magically appeared tomorrow, it wouldn't fully solve the problem because the issue isn't just policy, it's culture. We live in a society that measures worth by productivity, output, and income, not by the quiet, unpaid, profoundly human work of raising children. Until America fundamentally shifts how it defines success, mothers will continue to feel pressure to prove their value by how quickly they can bounce back and get back to work physically, emotionally, and professionally, often at the expense of their own health and their families. That shift would require us to rethink our addiction to constant consumption. We work relentlessly, not just to survive, but to buy more, bigger houses, newer cars, endless toys, fast fashion, upgraded TVs, mountains of stuff we've been convinced we need to prove we're doing well. Much of this is just junk, manufactured overseas, shipped here in bulk, feeding a global economy that depends on Americans staying exhausted, overworked, and perpetually dissatisfied. Let that one sink in. It's never enough. The feeling of never enough. A society that truly valued raising families would spend less time chasing status and more time investing in time. Time to parent, to rest, to connect. And that kind of slowdown, it doesn't serve corporations or foreign manufacturing powerhouses very well, now does it? I was just listening to a preacher who I follow. It's Pastor Dudley. I've mentioned him before. I heard about him on the Patrick Bet David show, and I just think he's amazing. He completely keeps it real. And in a recent episode, they were talking about how people who smoke excessively or drink alcohol excessively or eat, nothing but Krispy Kreme and fast food all day long will still tend to live longer, healthier, more fulfilling lives if they have a close group of people that they are around. And so this just goes back to that connection, that community. And where does that all start? It starts between a mother and their babies. So, at its core, again, this is about identity, the American identity. Americans are conditioned to compete, to keep up with the Joneses, to prove we're winning at life through visible success and material accumulation, choosing family over relentless work challenges. That entire narrative is all of us. This threatens our economy that's built on speed, scarcity, and comparison. But maybe everybody, the real question isn't whether paid maternity leave is affordable. It's whether we're brave enough to imagine an America that values people over profits, presence over productivity, and children over consumption. Because honoring mothers doesn't just change families, it changes everything. There is nothing more important than the connection between a mother and her child. And again, in this fast paced life that we're living as Americans, it's really up to us. I think about all the things that my kids have, probably that your kids have. Christmas this year was such a challenge because it's like, what do you get the kids that already have everything? And what an amazing blessing that they already have everything, right? That they don't understand what it's like to really want or need a true necessity because it's all there. It's all at their fingertips. It's like almost hard to imagine that we still have hungry children in this country, given everything that we do, right? We're really such a gracious society. Like we donate a lot. We see organizations, they pull at our heartstrings, we give back, we do the best that we can. And yet, we still have starving children in America. But the other interesting thing is that many low income families are actually the ones plagued by a lot of the health problems. Why? Because the foods that we give that you can get with food stamps or families that are on welfare, what are they buying? It's all the crap. Why? Because it's cheap and fast and easy to manufacture, and it's making these kids sick. So what do we do? How do we how do we change things? What are like some human stories that we can all relate to? I think about friends or coworkers, people I know that had to choose between returning to work too soon or losing income or forfeiting their bonding time with their baby. I don't know a single mother, even my friends that have careers where they do have that purpose and that passion, even those friends, I still find it interesting that I don't know a single mother who didn't cry or feel at least a twinge of sadness when she had to go back to work. I think my friends who felt this a little bit less were the friends who had family that helped to care for their children. I know that the days that my mom could come and help with my kids were my favorite days because those were the days I actually felt most productive when I really sit back and think about it now, because I knew my mother would love on those kids so fiercely. And I knew that she would take care of them with all of her heart. My mother loves kids. And I felt a little less guilty about working on the days that I knew that my mother was taking care of my kids. It was the days when I had to take them to daycare. Those were the worst days. Those were my most resented days when I was just like, ugh, like this is it. And then, you try to make yourself feel better because you tell yourself, well, I'm not in this alone. Millions of moms are doing the same thing. But the crazy thing is, we all feel it, but none of us say it out loud because we just accept that this is life. And I know many people are going to be like, all right, Lolita, well, what are you going to do? Sell your house? Are you just going to give it all up? And I'm going to tell you right now, call me crazy. But if my husband said to me right now, let's completely downsize, let's like, I don't know, let's completely downsize, let's get rid of everything. I love you, even if you don't dye your hair and get your roots done. And like take care of yourself and try to keep it together as a middle-aged woman. I would probably be like, thank you, God. Like, please relieve me of the burden of this trying to keep up and not even keeping up with society, just trying to keep up with myself. It's a lot. I mean, like the impact in other countries. Let's go back to some of the other countries that we talked about, right? Like Bulgaria, Estonia. Parents are encouraged to take time off. They are encouraged to have babies. Fathers and mothers share equal leave in some instances. How amazing is that? And society just normalizes caregiving as work that matters. So, what would America look like if we treasured raising children as much as we treasure careers, cars, toys, and all the excessive junk we talked about that we know that we don't need? What would it look like? And what can we do? Why do we accept this? What would a society that honored mothers and children actually invest in? What if businesses really understood that family support isn't a perk, it's an actual foundation? What would it look like? The only thing I can suggest at this point is that if this conversation moves you, you call your state representative. You start to demand federal paid family leave, and you vote with your values. Of all the things our country dumps money into, of all of these bullshit three-letter agencies that tell you like you can't curse on the freaking radio. Well, thank you, podcasts. And now we can say whatever we want in a free country, by the way. Um, why? Why can we not figure this out? Why can we not all agree that there is nothing more important than families? There is nothing more important than keeping the world going by continuing to have children, have babies, and bring them in. Why? Why are we so behind the ball on this? And what will it take? I don't know that I've ever seen anybody worth a damn who I care about in politics really talking about this. And I really wish that we could start to get more people talking about it. And so, again, all you can do is call your state representatives, see how and where you can get involved, start to demand federal paid family leave. And again, just vote with your values, everybody. I mean, my days are over. Like, I'm done. I'm not having any more babies. It's it. This is it. The train has left the station. Even if it was still possible at my age, like, no, I cannot even imagine having a baby at my age. Although, again, I mean, if it happened, obviously it would be a blessing. But I wish I would have had more kids when I was younger. I wish that I didn't feel like I had to work or so compelled to work. I wish I wasn't bogged down by student loan debt, a whole other conversation for another day. And I'll wear my glasses for that conversation too, because it's another important one. But we all love our kids, or at least most of us do. And I know a lot of us bring kids into the world who never really wanted kids, but this conversation isn't about the fringe, okay? It's about the masses. And like I said, I just don't know a mom. I don't know a mom who wouldn't say, "You're going to give me 6 months paid leave so that I can bond with my kid, and you're going to guarantee my job." I don't know what mom would say no to that. I really don't. And there's, the reality is there's never going to be that perfect line of, well, when is too soon to send a mother back to work? But I think we can all agree, certainly within the first 6 to 12 months, there's that fine line of, is it too soon? And many people will argue that, what if you have another baby right after that? Then it's like you've just gone right back to work only to leave again. Well, you know what, guys? This is life, right? This is life. Women have the babies. Women have the babies. Women grow the babies. Women can feed and nourish the babies. And so we got to figure this out because this isn't sustainable. Look at all the drama that you hear about daycares. I don't even want to get into the dark side of daycares. I just feel very lucky that we found a place that treated our kids great and where they really thrived and have friendships to this day with little buddies that they went to daycare with from the time they were one. But Again, if I could wave my magic wand, I wasn't in my dream career when I had my babies. And so for me, going back to work was difficult. It sucked. And when I really think about it, if it wasn't for the fact that I had student loans, that was really my one true reason for really feeling like, God, I have to go back to work because I have all this student loan debt and there's just no way I'm going to pay it off. And I certainly can't let my husband shoulder that. And so I have to go back to work. But if I didn't have that student loan debt, I really wonder if I would have gone back. I think I might have really just tried to stay home for at least the first 3 years of my kids' lives. And you're talking about a small blip in the radar to raise your babies. And if I had the career that I really loved, that I was really passionate about, I'd be excited to go back to work. And I would contribute probably in an even better way. I'm like so good at work. I excel so much at work. I have such a great work ethic. But imagine what I could have done had I been in a job that I was really passionate about at the time my kids were born. All right, I'm going to stop there, or I'll just keep going on and on. What a fuster cluck, maternity leave in the USA. It is a fuster. Please remember, like, follow, subscribe, share this conversation with someone who you think would really benefit from listening to it, or to a mom to help her understand she's not alone, or to an employer who needs a nudge on rethinking their maternity leave, their paternity leave for that matter. Call your representatives, see how you can get involved. What a fuster cluck. America and maternity leave failing. Let's try to figure this out for future generations. Thank you all so much. I always appreciate you listening. Have a great rest of your week. New episodes drop every Monday. Can't wait to see you next time.